The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. And as we do most Wednesdays, we have spent a few moments with the Mayor of the City of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan, who joins us from his office on the 6th floor of Government Center. Mayor, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Keith. Same to you, I hope.
Yeah, everything's going well. We can't complain about the weather. We've had some rainy days, spectacular summer weather-wise. We'll talk about some activities and how the city's faring with some events as we go on later in this segment. But I actually want to start with the school committee on Monday approved a policy which would restrict the use of cell phones by high school students and also students in the middle schools beginning this fall. A move like this can be very controversial. Let me just first ask you your thoughts on it. You did vote yes on the policy, and how do you feel this will be a positive impact to students?
Oh, I think it's a step forward in the battle to get children and students off their cell phones. Again, as someone that's been in that fight 100 times, when you try to remove a phone from a student, it's really testing. The problem becomes that you see 10 kids in a cafeteria, at a bus stop. They're all on their phone. No one's talking to each other. There's limited interaction. In a school, it's magnified out, whether it's bullying, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. It's a tremendous distraction to learning. And people have to understand that our job on the school committee is to make sure kids get the best education they can in the Fall River schools. And obviously, this is not a Fall River schools issue. It's a statewide issue. Everybody's fighting this cell phone issue and trying to find a way to work their way through it. These bags that they're going to put them in are an outcropping of it. This is not going to be the be all and the end all. We're going to need parents to work with us on this cell phone issue to make sure the kids are in school learning. Everybody's got a Chromebook. Everybody's got the opportunity to work with technology in almost all of our schools. So they don't really need them during the day. If they want to talk on them after school or before school, that's fine. But having a cell phone policy, I think, will improve our scores. It'll lessen some of the bullying and the problems schools have with behavior and theft. When I was a vice principal, we were chasing cell phones all the time. Someone took it out of my locker. I left it on my desk. When I came back, it was gone. It's a huge distraction in the education world, and I hope this is a step towards fixing it.
I know we posted a story about it yesterday, and there's a lot of communication on social media about this, that some parents are concerned about emergencies. If there's an emergency either with their family where they need to communicate to their student, or an emergency at the school that needs to be communicated to parents, that they're concerned that their student won't have the ability to receive that communication. And that has been addressed as well, correct?
Absolutely. The technology in our schools now allow for that. I mean, one event we had at Durfee, when I was there, we had a lockdown announced because there was someone in the hall that was a stranger. So we locked down all the classrooms and kept the kids in the rooms, got them out of the bathrooms, out of the halls. Do you know that within 10, 15 minutes, there was 50, 100 people in the lobby demanding to see their kids? I mean, that's the kind of chaos that can be created if safety and security isn't handled in an orderly, professional fashion. I mean, that went out, I don't know, on Facebook or on social media, or maybe someone was listening to one of those police scanners. But they came right in. They wanted their kid. They wanted their kid. They wanted their kid. And you can't keep them safe when that's their job to keep them safe. Notifications like that can go out on an all call. We have plenty of systems to notify parents if there's a real issue going on, and we will. And again, that every room is equipped with I'm thinking again, Durfee, it's got all the technology with a call box, with the means to contact people. So there are ways to handle this. Education, schools, that's what they should be all about.
Yeah, there's definitely, watching the meeting, there was definitely talk about, I believe it's called Parent Square. Is that the app, right? Where parents can communicate with their schools at any time, individual teachers and the like, and that's where that will happen. And people can also still pick up the phone, like we used to when I was in school. Pick up the phone, and if there was an emergency, contact someone who could relay a message if needed to that student. So that will be going on. And just so people know, even though school starts on August 28th, it's not going to happen that first day. There's going to be a process of informing students and informing parents so everyone's on the same page before that takes effect. So even though there's a lot of response, and I don't know, has your office heard getting any calls from parents and concerned citizens about this?
No, I think what's going to happen is parents are going to understand that it is best for the safety and security of their students in school to have the phones locked up and on them, but at the same time not to be using them all day. I don't think that's a positive in any way, shape, or form. And I know security and safety is one of the issues, but I don't think that's going to overwhelm the day-to-day learning that goes on in most of our schools.
Yeah. And basically, just so people know, what will happen is students will come in, they'll have a pouch of some sort that's magnetically closed, and they will be responsible for putting their electronics in that pouch, which they will keep with them throughout the day. It'll just be locked, and then it'll be unlocked when they leave school later on that afternoon. So it's not like the school is actually physically taking away the cell phones. They'll have them in their possession. It'll just be in a pouch, which they cannot open until the end of school. All right, moving on. The contract situation with the Florida Educators Association, negotiations continue. Again, at the school committee, there are a number of members of the union who were testifying during citizens' input. I believe there is another set of meetings happening. Are you still confident that a resolution will be reached before the beginning of school?
I do. I'm very confident that we'll get this done. I'm very confident, but of course, I'm very, very hopeful. At the same time, we've made a substantial offer to them. We're not afraid to sit down and keep talking. As I said, we lost some time over the summer when I strongly felt we should be meeting. We went over what's been going on the other night during executive session, and hopefully with the meetings this week, we take another step further to resolving this. Our teachers are very important. Obviously, I was a paid member of that union for a long time. I think almost all teachers are underpaid across the country for what goes on in schools nowadays. So if we can adjust our teachers up a little more than what neighboring communities are getting, I'm all in. I think we should be fair with these people, and I think they should be fair with us. And I believe that if they continue to talk, they will work their way through this.
And I know that some people who may not be involved in the negotiations will see. I believe the city's latest offer was, I believe, 5% for 3 years, and the union still has something that's higher. That's still, depending on how you perceive as a gap, could be a big or a small gap. It seems that people who watch it from the outside may say, why don't they just? There's going to be a compromise. Why don't they just get there? I guess that's part of the process that people don't see. That there is, talking through, and it's more than just pay in many instances, correct?
Yeah, it's interaction between the union and the administration. It's every contracts like this, whether it's custodians, cafeteria workers, police, fire. There's a give and a take. If it was easy as going to the halfway point, I'm sure the teachers would have come in and asked for something extremely high, and we would have gone completely with zeros. But that's not really how it works. I mean, that's not fair to the teachers on our end, and it's not fair to the city on their end. So that's what I mean. It's got to be a give and take so that we come to something that's within a range. And again, they're looking for what they are calling, I believe, a pay correction, because the Florida teachers have notoriously been paid a lot less. I think when I first got hired way back in the days of Carlton and Ferris, we did something like that where there was a correction put in. We still never caught up. But again, we're working with them. it's important to be talking and going forward. I'm hoping we get this done.
All right, moving on. We've talked before about the homeless encampments across the city and the city's efforts to get people help and move them along. We've also talked briefly about how the Supreme Court ruled on the federal level that actually communities can be a little more persistent in terms of handling encampments. And I know that the Corporation Council has drafted a proposed ordinance that will help the city in that manner. What can you tell us about that?
It was an ordinance. It was referred to ordinance committee last night at the city council meeting. It gives the city the ability to take the tents and the property off of take their homeless property off of public property, and hopefully without liability for the city. If you know, sometimes in the other communities, when they close down a camp or they remove a tent, the city has seemed like they've absorbed some liability for what was done. Did they ruin a tent? Where's my clothes? So we wrote ours in such a way to craft it as the city would not be liable for that. At the same time, making sure everyone knows you can't camp on public land. With all that being said, one of our neighboring communities does that. They take the tents down, they take the clothing, and what you have is a bunch of people sleeping in the doorways downtown. This is a really, really tough issue. There is not enough beds. There's not enough places to put them. They are going to go somewhere. Last week, for example, we took a gentleman out of one of the camps. He wanted to go back to Florida. We accommodated him with a ticket. We work hard with our homeless population. I was down there the other day. A doctor from Star was there at the bottom of Kennedy Park with the van, trying to make sure that some of their medical issues were being treated. It's very, very difficult to have a combination of people walking the streets that are maybe addicted to substances, and I don't really discriminate between drugs or alcohol, have a mental health component, and try to get them to make a rational decision for what's the best thing they can do to improve their life. People have to understand how hard that is. It's not as easy as, okay, come on, let's go, we're going to get you some help. Although we've been very successful at getting people placed lately, at the same time, we know it's a struggle. It's a struggle because of the burdens that were placed on these individuals through life that they just can't seem to work their way through. But at the same time, we're going to try to help them. And I know it's uncomfortable for the public. It's a horrible look, but just look at what's going on in a little town like Jamestown, New York, with 27,000 people. They're fighting a fight with 300 homeless. They had 4 or 5 camps of 30 or more. I don't think we have one that big in Fall River right now, anywhere I know of, that has 30 or more residents. We do have a few around, and we're working with those residents to try to get them both housing or into treatment.
Yeah. I want to end this week on a positive note, a positive in terms of excitement and events within Fall River, and maybe not so positive because, we're getting toward the end of summer. But, we talked about how the weather has been spectacular, and there's been a number of events, again, primarily held at the waterfront, at the city pier, and other events. You've been to all of those. What are you seeing in terms of attendance, in terms of excitement, and whether people are taking full advantage of these events here in Fall River this summer?
I mean, it's amazing to me what's going on in the city. Last weekend, for example, we had St. Anthony of the Deserts Festival. We had Good Shepherd's Festival. We had boxing on the Battleship. We had a street festival at Troy City Breweries. We had some kind of a pickleball event going on. It was packed down there. There are just so many things going on in the city of Fall River right now, including they had a concert at the Narrows the other night. There's a lot to do. There's a lot going on in the city of Fall River, and it's getting better all the time. We're working with more events that we want to make sure people attend. The concert that the Narrows is putting on the city pier. We're doing a fundraiser with a girl named Liz Longley for the Christmas parade. There is just so many things going on that we want people to know that Fall River is really working hard to make sure everybody has something to do. You can get out and about. Last night they had karaoke on the trolley. I went and wished them luck. The trolley was full. The water taxi's been popping along. We're actually looking for another boat there that's being worked on now. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and it's a very active time in the city of Fall River, and we're going to try to continue it as long as we can through the fall.
I know it's maybe difficult to quantify, but anecdotally, are you also seeing out of towners, more visitors come in for some of these events?
Absolutely. It's funny because you see more out of town plates coming into Fall River now. I was up at the Notre Dame school the other day, and there were plates there from Tennessee, South Dakota, the state of Washington, New York. I mean, there are people coming into our city now. We have work to do. We have work to do. We have, people think I live in a fairy tale world where everything's great. It's not. Work to do on our streets, work to do in our schools, work to do with crime, work to do with homelessness, work to do with loneliness. There's work to do in the city of Fall River. Don't get me wrong. I'm not diminishing any of that. But when you're trying to make sure you're talking about a city, you want to be positive. I do want to be positive. I don't want to dwell on the negatives, although they're across my desk all day long, and there are trained people in almost all cases addressing these things. But at the same time, if you're trying to talk about where you live, you want to be positive about the city, and I'm going to stay positive. We're going to work the problems, but at the same time, we're going to make sure we have fun and some things for people to do on the side. And I think that's the combination you need. If I came on this show every week and gave people a 20-minute update on what's wrong with the city of Fall River, I wouldn't be a mayor worth a damn. My point is, you talk about the good things, you work on the bad things as hard as you can to fix them, but at the same time, you try to accentuate the positive.
Yeah. All right. And with that, we will end our discussion for the week. Mayor, thank you for joining us. As always, we'll talk again next week. Take care.
Okay, Keith, thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. Have a great week.